I've been meaning to write about this for the past several days and I haven't gotten around to writing it. But people have been asking this question a lot about Joe Biden. Like, how come Joe Biden isn't winning more of the black vote? How come black people are trailing away? You know what? Black people are not unanimous in their opinion about anything. It's not surprising. But still, the overwhelming majority of black people are not going to vote for Donald Trump. They're definitely 90% of black people are not going to vote for Donald Trump. And the real issue I think we should be asking, instead of pointing the finger at black people, why aren't we doing this or that? We should be pointing the finger at white people. Why is it that the majority of white people plan to vote for Donald Trump? Why is it that the majority of white people voted for Donald Trump in 2016 and they didn't vote for Barack Obama in any of his elections? Why is it the majority of white people voted for Donald Trump again in 2020 after all the chaos he created?
But what I say is, why do birds suddenly appear? What? Because the thing is like, why the rainbows? Why is water wet? Like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, why
does everything have to be about race? It's exactly right. Why? It's like white people are invested in protecting whiteness, and that's the thing we need to be focused on. Everybody's focused on Joe Biden not getting Muslim support or black support. Yeah, I get that, but you know what? The real question we should be asking is, why is it that white people continue to support Donald Trump? Why is it after being twice impeached, quadruple indicted, after having 91 charges against him, after 6 bankruptcies, after being convicted, after having his company convicted of fraud, after 3 of his lawyers have been convicted, after several of his top aides have been convicted, after he's run a country for 4 years with chaos, after everything he's said about creating a dictatorship, pulling out of NATO, not willing to support our allies, after all of this stuff that white people who've been lecturing black people and brown people for years about what we should be doing and how we should be respectful of our country and we should be electing serious leaders, why is it the majority of white people still want to vote for this guy? And that's the real issue that America's facing. It's not about black and brown people not showing up for Joe Biden. It's about white people, racist white people showing up to support Donald Trump. That's the problem that America's facing.
Because at the end of the day, they're literally still the majority that gets to decide which way this thing tilts.
Well, yes, and that's part of the problem, because there's not all white people who feel this way, fortunately, because there has to be some critical mass of white people who don't. That's the reason why Barack Obama was able to get elected, because even though he didn't win the white vote, he got enough white votes to be able to support him. But Donald Trump won the white vote in both of his elections. Barack Obama lost the white vote in both of his elections. What does that say about white people in America? What does that say about white people in America?
I think that you keep asking very rhetorical questions.
Because it's all about race. White people are invested in protecting racist, white supremacist policies. That's the reason why they're voting for Donald Trump. That's the reason why they voted for Donald Trump in the past.
That is, ladies and gentlemen, that is the answer. But the reality is we're going to all continue to be gaslit that is not what we're talking. That's not the situation. So when we talk about voting, it's always protected in this thing of a civil duty that we don't talk about because it's my right to vote. And I vote personally and you don't have to discuss it and blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, you're living next door to a Trump supporter and don't even know it.
And they're going to blame us and say, well, black people, we only voted 85% for Biden instead of 88%. You know what? That's what the hell? That's how a lot of people are voting for him. But they're not pointing the finger at white people who are voting overwhelmingly for Donald Trump. That is some twisted logic to make us to blame. We are the ones that have to rescue the country from white people who are ruining the country by supporting Donald Trump. They are the problem, not us.